weeks or maybe even months. And yeah, and yesterday your session went really well. So I like to say hello to everybody first, and then we'll do intro. My name is Ching Juhl, and this is Juhl Media YouTube channel. We do interviews, and we also put videos of films and all kinds of different things on this channel. And today my special guest is Dawn Fields, filmmaker, also director, writer, producer. She wears lots and lots of different hats. Very talented artist. So, how are you, Dawn?
I'm doing great, doing great. Just trying to stay cool in this weather.
Yes, so tell us, where are you right now?
I'm actually about an hour and a half outside of LA, and I'm kind of up in the mountains now, and it's even hot up here right now. So I can imagine what it must be like in the valley and Las Vegas and Arizona. Oh my gosh, I feel for everybody in those areas for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I am in New York City. We have been actually pretty lucky for the last few days. Last week was really, really hot, but like yesterday, today it's at about 75-ish. Yeah, so not too bad.
Okay,
Yes, yeah. So
not too bad.
now,
That's comfortable.
yeah, yeah. So congratulations. Last night was really
Thank you. Sorry,
successful.
my camera's
What?
about to fall. Hang on
Oh,
one
okay.
second.
That's okay.
Kind of
So
have it rigged
I'll
here.
just keep talking. And Dawn had a what do you call watch
Watch
party
party.
for her film, and she has produced a series of a film, and then her film is called Fragile Storm,
Mhm.
starring a very famous actor Lance Henriksen. How do you say that? His
Henriksen.
Henriksen, yeah.
Lance Henriksen. Yeah.
Yeah, Lance Henriksen. And so, yeah, it was very well received yesterday. So tell us a little bit of like you're the writer, you're the producer, you're the director for this whole thing, and where was this sort of inspiration come from when you write this piece, and how long does it take from thinking to making it to now?
And we're talking about just Fragile Storm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
Let's talk about
Fragile
fragile
Storm.
stuff first. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the short itself, the script actually came to me through a script contest that my production company had several years ago. And it was written by a wonderful young woman in the UK named Carly Street. She had the original concept and the original idea, and we just loved it so much. So that won the contest, and the prize for the contest was a certain amount of cash, and your script would get made into a short. And initially, it was something we were just going to do part time and on the weekends, low budget, kind of pulling together a bunch of friends and volunteers and stuff. But the script just kind of took on a life of its own, and then I got involved in the writing because her original script took place in a couple of different locations, and we, for economy and for budget, wanted to just shoot it all in one place. Uh, so with her permission, I went in and kind of rewrote the whole thing to happen inside one house, and that's really where it took on just a whole nother like emotional level, I guess I would say. And the script was just getting such high reviews and high marks and such good responses from people that we decided to just go ahead and increase the budget and really try to get a name actor, and we ended up shooting it on a stage with Lance Henriksen. So this little tiny thing just really blew up into something really really big. And so we did the film festival circuit with it, and that went really really well. And after the film festival circuit, I'm like, well, what else can we do with the short, right? Like, we've done about everything we can do with the short. So a few years ago, I got this idea to bundle it together with some other shorts that I could string together with some kind of theme or commonality, and turn it into a feature length anthology and sell that as a feature. And so that became the edge of her mind, which is, it became the films that I got, and the films that I resonated with that made the most sense ended up being films by women about women leaning into mental health. And that became kind of the niche of the anthology. So it took us quite a while to pull it all together and find all the right films, and get it just the way I wanted and the way I was happy with. But the film finally got released about a week or so ago on Amazon Prime, Apple iTunes, Tubi TV, Plex, Zumo, a new platform called Filmsy, which actually looks really amazing both on your TV app and your phone. So really, everything presents really nicely. So I'm excited for that app. And we went through FilmHub. We went through FilmHub.com, who's kind of an aggregator who helps get your film on all these platforms. And I don't know how much of the business you want to talk about, but at some
Yeah.
point, if you want to talk about how all that works in distribution and marketing, we can get into all that. But basically, that was the inspiration for the film, and it turned into to this feature length anthology now that's on the market and out for people to enjoy.
How long
So,
does it take when you apply for Film Hub to materialize? Is there a
well,
lot of waiting?
we submitted the film in late March, and it took about a week of a little back and forth for us to pass QC, because what the way Film Hub works is they call themselves like a marketplace. And what happens is you submit your film, they run it through all these QC tests to make sure that it will pass as many platforms as possible. So they really work with you to make sure your poster has the right specs, your font isn't too small. Like, they don't like it when it'll get kicked back if the title on your poster is too small and not legible in thumbnail size. They really look at like everything like that. So we submitted all our materials. There was a little bit of a back and forth, and then within a week we had passed QC, and within a day Plex had picked us up, and we were live on their platform the next day.
Wow.
So they're really fast. They were the first platform to pick us up, and then over the next several days we got picked up by Apple, Zumo, Alice Movies on Zumo, a handful of other smaller platforms I'm not really that familiar with. And then about a month or so ago, we finally got picked up by Tubi, which was big. We really wanted to be on Tubi, but we still hadn't gotten on Amazon. We'd been selected by Amazon back in March or April,
Mm,
but for some reason, the process to wait for Amazon to go live with your film took a lot longer than expected. It took, I
mm,
think, almost 4 months, where sometimes it can happen in as little as 30 days. But for us, for some reason, there were some issues, I think, between the delivery between Film Hub and Amazon, or something happened that delayed everything. So we waited. You
mm,
know, a lot of people will tell you, oh, well, push it out on the platforms you're out on now, and then as you get on new platforms, push it
mm,
again.
mm.
But my philosophy is, you really only have one official trailer that you post on YouTube, right? Because that's where you want all your views to start clicking up, and you want one call to action at the end. Same with your artwork. When you start pushing out on social media your artwork that says now streaming here, now available, blah 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 blah, you can't really push that out more than once people start sharing it, right? Because once
Mm,
people start sharing on social media, it's out there.
mm.
So we made the excruciating decision to wait, and it was tough for us because we were hoping to get the film released on all the major platforms by May, because May was Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh, yes.
We missed the
Yes.
deadline. We didn't make it.
Yeah.
We were on Apple by then, and Plex, and I think Zumo, and maybe one, or we were already on those platforms by then, but we weren't on Tubi yet. The only TVOD platform we were on was Apple, and we just were like, we don't want to just push it out on Apple. I love Apple; it's great, and honestly, it's one of the places where we make the most money. If you want to,
Mm,
I don't know how much business versus creative you want to talk about, but we can get into all that. But
yeah.
decided to wait, and therefore didn't end up releasing until August 2nd.
Wow.
But the good
But
news for us, there's a but.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
good news for us is that October 10th is World Mental Health Day.
Wow.
We
Okay.
have another chance to
Yes.
use that as a way to get people excited and interested in the subject matter of our film. So
Mm,
I always say things happen for a reason, and just because something doesn't work out, or you miss a deadline, or something does, you're not able to release or push something out when you had planned or when you had wanted to,
mm.
don't let it get you down, because it might mean there's something bigger and better, and uh, more than you could have even hoped
Right.
for coming down the pike. So
Right. Right. Well, that's great to know. Yeah. Congratulations on all these.
it's my
Yeah.
first release. So
Yes, that's awesome. And last night on Clubhouse, you had a watch party. I thought that was very well planned, executed. And also, I mean, some people may have problems with, viewing this devices,
Yeah.
but overall, I had no problem. I just click on right away, and I was able to see it on my other iPhone actually, because I could not get to my laptop yesterday, but it was a really good experience.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Just to give a preface on that, we decided to take a couple of the shorts from the anthology with the following that I have on Clubhouse and do a couple watch parties. And we may do a few more for a couple of other of the shorts in the program. But so last night, what Ching's referring to is the watch party that we had for Fragile Storm. And I was using a third party platform called watchme.me or
Oh,
watchparty.me
okay.
because the the video and the audio quality on that was really good, but it
Hmm.
turns out it's really buggy and it only works on certain browsers, on certain
Oh,
computers, and it doesn't work on mobile very well at all. And in
oh,
hindsight, for anybody who's thinking about doing this, just put up a YouTube link. Like we should have
oh,
just shared the YouTube link.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but the
Well,
response to the film was really good.
yeah, yeah. We're learning all the time. So now, you have been doing this for many years, and entertainment business 20 years. So how does this whole thing happen? Like, can you walk us go backwards? Like, what is your background when you were younger? Like, what did you do? Did you always know you wanted to be in the film and entertainment business?
Um, I didn't know. I think my dad knew. When I was little, my dad used to call me the actress in the family. And I think it was just because of this one time I was outside on the swings. I was feeling like he wasn't paying enough attention to me that day. And so I fell off the swing and laid down on the ground and played dead. And he came running out of the house, scooped me up in his arms. It was like, oh my God, oh my God. And all of a sudden I popped open my eyes. I'm like, just kidding. He was not happy. He was not happy, needless to say. But because of that, he always said that I was going to be the actress in the family. I'm from Georgia, Marietta or Atlanta, Georgia. And in the early 90s, all the big budget films were coming through Georgia because it was a right to work state. It was kind of fresh territory for a lot of the big Hollywood movies. And and they uh, so all these big so all these big movies were coming through the South, and I started out being an extra on one of the big. I think my first film was Love Potion #9 with Sandra Bullock. And oh, my camera's falling again. Hang on one second.
Okay, sorry.
That what happened. This is my first StreamYard, y'all, so forgive me. The next time I'm not wearing
Eh,
the
You'll
black
be expert after this. So no,
um,
you look wonderful.
is that good? Is that better? Okay.
Hmm. Yep.
So yeah, so Love Potion #9, written and directed. Dale Launer wrote Ruthless People, Dirt and Ruddy Scoundrels. So he was already a prolific writer. And then Love Potion #9, he also wanted to direct. So it was like his directorial debut as well. So Love Potion #9 comes to the South. I want to be an extra. And I end up working for the extras casting uh, person. Cynthia Stillwell was the big extras casting person in Atlanta at that time, probably still is. And my first on-set job was hiring all. If you've seen the movie, there's this scene where a prostitute drinks the potion, and all of these men from everywhere, from out of the shower, from getting their hair cut, all these 1,500 men chase her down through the streets of Atlanta. And so my job with extras casting was to help bring in 1,500 men to
Oh,
be in
okay.
that scene.
Yeah.
So I had a crash course right from the start in big budget films and films at that level. And then I was a PA on Free Jack with Emilio Estevez and Mick Jagger, and there was a production assistant named Todd who was wrangling all the extras. And I was watching him and everything he was doing, and I'm like, this is fascinating. I never thought about working in movies and working on a film. I'm like, how did you get your job? And he said, well, you have to know somebody that famous. You have to know someone to break into Hollywood. And so I looked at him. I said, well, I know you. and he got me my first few jobs.
Oh, wow.
Um, so from there, I toured all around the Southeast and worked as a production assistant on all the films I could get on. I went from Free Jack to Wilder Napalm with Dennis Quaid, Deborah Winger,
Mm,
and Arliss Howard.
mhm,
I worked on Free Jack, like I said. I worked on RoboCop 3, I'll Fly Away in the Heat of the Night, just a whole bunch of the things that were shooting in the South at that time,
mm,
in the Southeast. And probably my best memory was working on a season of Young Indiana Jones
mm.
with George Lucas.
So
So I
what
actually got to
makes
work
you
with and meet George Lucas, which was fantastic.
when you were working your way up and at at the first what attracts you the most the whole business sense the business is it like a it's like a some people wanting to learn how to shoot or fascinated with light or fascinated with audio or what was your thing?
I think my first memory of catching the bug was just being on set and the electricity. Like some people find movie sets totally boring, especially big budget movies. They move at a snail's pace. There's a lot of sit around, a lot of hurry up and wait. But I didn't feel that way. I was never more alive and felt more electric than when I was on a movie set. And I still feel that way to this day, all these years later, all these decades later. But as a PA, we all the PAs on these big budget films, we would always want to be the one that the AD called first, right? The AD really liked you and he trusted you. You would be the first one that they would say, he would call you by name and say, "Hey, go do this." And so we were all jockeying for the attention in the favor of the first AD on that way on every set I worked on.
I see.
And what you wanted was you wanted those jobs that were closer to camera, right? You didn't want the jobs way out in Siberia where you're locking up 3 blocks away, traffic
Mm.
3 blocks away, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So back then, you used to have cables, this long cable that would go from the camera to wherever Video Village was. There wasn't wireless yet; everything was
mm,
hardwired.
mm.
So one of my favorite jobs, I would always vie and try to get the job of the cable wrangler, where you're crouched down on the floor and you're holding the cable and you're just moving and keeping that cable clear no matter what the camera does and where the camera
I
goes.
see, I see.
And once I was that close to the camera, I'm like, that's it. Because there's on a big movie set, there's this nucleus, which is the key people that are around the camera. And then there's kind of everybody else.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? There's
yeah,
the AD, the script
yeah,
supervisor, the director, the DP, the first
yeah,
assistant camera. There's this nucleus of people that are always at the camera, and that's where
yeah,
you want to be because that's where the excitement is.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
That's where the action is because I
yeah,
love actors and I love watching actors and working with actors.
yeah.
So from there, I thought I wanted to be an AD for that reason because I always wanted to be around the camera. So I did AD, first AD and second AD, some small stuff, some independents, music videos, things like that.
When
But
you say AD is assistant
assistant
director?
director,
Okay,
yeah, first AD,
okay,
second AD.
okay.
But then that transitioned into me feeling like I can't be that close to the camera and not be part of the decision making.
Mm,
And
mm,
that's when I decided I wanted to produce.
mm,
And so I started getting into producing my own stuff. It wasn't till Fragile Storm, ironically enough, that I got the directing bug. And
mm.
that was just, what, 6 years ago, something like that. Up until that time, I've been focusing mostly on producing. But when Fragile Storm came along, we hired a couple of directors initially, but it was that kind of thing where I'm like, I would do it different. This is not exactly how I envisioned it.
Mm,
I would do it different. And my team finally just said to me, "Why don't you just direct it then?"
mm,
I'm like,
mm.
"Oh no, I can't do that." But I
Yeah.
did. I stepped up and I directed it. And if you were in the room last night, a couple of people mentioned, because they know me and they've heard my stories, that ended up being a whole horror story in itself of how the film got made from that point on. Um,
Oh,
yeah, Francis Ford Coppola has a famous documentary called Heart of Darkness where he documents all the hell that broke loose when they were. Oh, I don't know if I can cuss on StreamYard.
yes,
Um,
you can.
okay. So, Heart of Darkness is his behind the scenes of all the horrific things that happened in getting that movie made and all the people, including himself, that almost died making that movie. And so I say I could make my own Heart of Darkness out of how Fragile Storm finally got made. But anyway, I digress. So what was
Yeah.
the question again?
Oh, I was just yeah, no, I have actually and I was just what fascinates you the first at the beginning, which I kind of understand because I've never really been on a set of gigantic, but
Oh,
I passed by either in New York City. I sometimes feel like maybe
mm.
I should just go there and watch, and then I feel a little bit
No,
intimidated. So,
try to get on as a PA.
oh,
What happens is they even the big movies hire
oh,
2 or 3 full-time PAs, but then
oh,
on days where they have big crowds or big scenes,
yeah,
they hire what's called day player PAs.
okay,
Do whatever, call the production office of anything that's in pre-production or coming to
oh,
your area or going on where
oh.
you are. I think you're here in LA, right?
I'm in New York City, Manhattan.
Oh, New York. So
Yeah.
yeah, figure out where. Like I remember back in the day, it used to be the Hollywood Reporter every Tuesday would come out with a physical edition of all the listings of everything that was in pre-production at that time and going into production.
Oh,
Now it's
okay.
all online and digital and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
see if you can figure out and just call the production office,
Yeah.
send them a resume,
Yeah.
showing that you know what you're doing, you've done stuff, and just I highly recommend it for everybody in the film business. Just go
Oh,
beyond,
okay.
work as a PA one
Yeah.
day on a big budget set.
Oh, all right. That sounds good. That
It's
sounds good.
magic. It's
So,
magic.
since I haven't really been on set, right? So I have a technical question for you. So, for instance, if there's a very intimate scene, uh, how do they do that? Do they make everybody disappear? Like all like AP, whatever,
Oh yeah,
PD?
it's called a closed set.
Yeah.
It's called a closed set, and
Oh,
nobody who only essential people can be
uh-huh.
there. Like if you're not running a camera or doing something, but like they set the lights, they set
Yeah.
everything up, and then
Yeah.
everybody leaves.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Now it's funny. One of the shows I worked on, there was an actress who uh, threw off all her clothes and ran into a lake naked and swam, whatever.
Yeah.
And they had her do that on the first day. And the reason that they had her do it on the first day is because apparently you don't want to give actors time to become disgruntled or have bad relationships with anyone they might have a love scene with or whatever. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times they'll do all
Yeah.
that stuff like right away,
I
sometimes
see.
like so they can't back out later, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a trick I learned, is to shoot all that right away up front. Just
Yeah.
get it out of the way. But these days, you really have to have an intimacy coordinator. Um,
Oh,
that's a
intimacy
new
card.
position. It's a
It's
real
a funny
thing.
words.
Yeah, it's a real job. It's a real thing. And
A marriage
yeah,
counselor.
very serious. It's a very serious
Yeah.
position. Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
over time there's been situations where directors would ask things of actors that either weren't in the script or they didn't agree to or they didn't realize it was going to play out a certain way,
Mm,
and the actors feel too intimidated to say anything in the moment
yeah.
because they don't want to stir up waves, they don't want to lose the
Yeah.
part, they don't want to fall out of favor with the production.
Yeah.
And it's over time it's just become a really serious issue.
Uh-huh.
So I think SAG actually now requires it. I think for independent film you should do it anyway, although it's not
Uh,
technically forced upon you.
yeah.
Um, but I think SAG pretty much requires it these days, that there
Yeah.
be a trained intimacy coordinator on set that
Wow.
discusses the scenes with the actors, make
Yeah.
sure that they've agreed to everything, that
Yeah.
they're comfortable with everything, and if anything comes up that they're not in the moment, at the day of the shoot, that they're not comfortable with,
Yeah.
that actor can now go to the coordinator and
Uh-huh.
not have to go to the producer or the director,
Yeah.
and that
Wow.
person will liaise between them and work it all out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a thing. It's a whole thing.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. So I have a question about you being a director. Um so first of all, if someone does not know film or entertainment, when people say director, what exactly director do?
Um, that's like asking what the producers do.
uh,
Um, I have to answer that by saying it kind of depends,
mm,
because not only in independent film, but in film in general, a lot of the hierarchy and how things work comes down to whose money is it? Who's putting
mm,
up the money?
mm,
So let's just talk independent film for a second. let's say that I wrote something that I want to direct, but I've never directed before. So I have to hire a producer to oversee everything, maybe even help raise the money and help make everything go smoothly.
Mm,
Now, in that situation, even though if I've hired the producer and it's my money, I'm ultimately at the top of the chain making those decisions.
mm,
If I was a producer and I want to make a movie,
mhm,
but I don't have a script or a director, and I go out and hire a writer or purchase a spec script, and then I hire a director to come in and execute ultimately my vision. Really, I mean, the director needs their own vision, but ultimately started with me, right? I
mhm,
chose the script. It's my project as the producer. In that case, that's what I call director for hire. And you may not have as much freedom and flexibility in a situation like that because you've got me, the producer, who's paying everybody to answer to.
mm.
So the position I like to be in the most to have the ultimate control is I raised the money, I'm the producer, I wrote the script, I directed it, I'm going to edit it, I'm going to market it. That way I have ultimate control over everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Now the downside to that is if it sucks, if it's a failure, then you take the blame for all of that as well.
right, right.
Um, but ultimately, in a more general sense, the director is responsible for the look, the tone, the feel, the pacing, the timing, although that can be manipulated in editing to a large degree.
Mhm,
And a lot of that, of course, is established in the writing if it's not a writer director. So basically, the director is the one that somebody back in the old days, they used to laugh and say that a director says yes and no, like on a
mm,
big, like the old Hollywood studio films. A director would, the wardrobe person would come up and say, this one or this one? Yes, no. And the art department would say, do you want this wallpaper? That? Yes, no.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that was
yeah.
kind of what a director used to
I
be
see. Yeah.
back in the day. But now it's, you have a vision for, what is the lighting going to look like, what is the
Mm,
set dressing, the
yeah,
location, the feel of it. So
yeah.
really, technically the director's responsible for everything that shows up in the frame, and then the producer helps make sure that the director has all the things that they need to put
Mm,
all that stuff in the frame, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's very complicated. I think direct in this sense compared to a music production, because I am a musician, like orchestra, right? They call conductor, they call
That's
director.
right.
So
Yeah.
pretty much conductor's job is pretty much to interpret the score, which is the score, and
That's
then have a skill of how to work with musicians and like make the orchestra sound good and through his body language and also rehearsing skill
Yeah,
and
that's a
also
great analogy.
yeah, and a modern conductor director, they have to know how to fundraise actually for a
Yeah,
modern conductor. They have to be charming, they have to be liked in their community so people will donate money to this
that's right.
conductor. So it's very complicated, but I think a director is a little bit more layers in compared to the music director in music world,
Well,
right?
you know where that biggest layer is working with the actors and molding and shaping the performances.
Right,
But
right.
some would argue that the director's number one job is orchestrating the performances.
Mm,
Now, some directors only do that. They focus on the actors and they rely on the DP or the cinematographer, director of photography. Those are all the same phrases. Sometimes they rely on them to establish the look and the feel, and
mm,
sometimes the shots and
yeah,
the framing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but so that's why it's a hard question to answer because
yeah,
there's
I
different
know.
directors with different styles that are responsible for
Yeah,
different things. But
I,
the
I,
director is the only one responsible for the acting.
is it okay if we play the Fragile Storm, the trailer? Because I
Yeah,
have some questions about that.
yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah. So let's see. I can go there, and
Yeah, if anybody actually on my new YouTube channel, there's the
yeah,
Fragile Storm trailer. There's the
yeah,
trailer to Edge of Her Mind, and then there's also a couple of other short films that I've done in the past over the years. There's
yeah,
three of my older short films on there.
yeah. I saw
Yeah,
this
put on my
very good
glasses.
quality. Can you see it now?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So this is the short film Fragile Storm. the trailer, which is 1 minute 21 seconds. Okay, all right, here we go.
Perfect.
What have you done?
Nothing, nothing. No, no. Stop it! No, no. Stop. Get off me!
Stop.
Please, no.
Can't go on like this. Please. Grace, open the door.
Just promise me, no matter what.
I promise.
Wow, powerful. So, yeah, I have a question related to the director. Now you have this, name actor. First of all, uh, did you feel intimidated when you first see him? Like, how? First of all, the first question: how did you get him? Do you have a you use the cast agent, or do you personally know him or know somebody? Oh, wait, sorry, can't hear you.
Sorry,
Okay,
I muted myself because I don't have headphones.
sorry, yeah, okay.
A little secret for that. If you're trying to do a short film or a PSA or something that's not a big paying job or a big feature film, the best way to get in touch with the name actor is either through their publicist, if it's something for a cause like a PSA or something like that, or if it's something like a student film or a short film, you go through their manager. And Lance Henriksen's manager at the time, and I think still is, was Jane Henriksen, his ex-wife, oddly enough, but they still work together and have a great relationship. And she's divine. Love her, love her, love her. So basically, I just called her up and I asked her, and she goes, "No, no way. He's not doing a short with no budget." Because remember, at the time when it first started out, it was just this small thing that we were going to do. But then we started getting, grand ideas, and we're like, well, what if we could get a name actor? Everybody loves the script so much. Maybe if he really liked the script, he would do it. So they were like, no, 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 no. He has a certain day rate now, and the only way we could even consider this is if you had the day rate. And I'm like, well, could he at least read the script? And she's like, no, I'm not going to have him read the script because I've read the script and I love the script. And he's going to hear in my voice that I love the script, and he's going to feel bad. He's going to feel bad to have to turn it down. She wouldn't even show him the script. And I'm like, no, show him the script. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. So I said to her, because I'm standing there in the Trader Joe's aisle when she called me back to tell me no. And I'm like, no, my instinct, my third eye, my gut was saying, no, it's not going down like this. This is not the way this is going to work out.
Yeah.
And so with no access to money whatsoever at this time, I said to her, because his day rate was really a lot at that time, still is, but even more now. And I just said, well, what if we can get the money? And she says, if you can get the money, then I'll have him read the script. And I said, have him read the script. Just out of my ass. Just completely out of my ass.
Yeah.
And I'll get the money, right?
Yeah.
So he reads the script. He loves it. But they're like, but you gotta put the money in escrow, and you have to show us that you have it. You can't just say,
show me the money.
Show me the money. Right. And there's another thing in Hollywood called a pay or play, which is you have to choose a date that you're going to shoot and that you need them for. And once you put the money in escrow to lock in those dates, if you move your shoot date, or if you don't shoot, if you're not ready to go on those dates, you lose that money. And I'm just going to say, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars here, not a small amount of money. And nothing will light a fire under your ass more than having tens of thousands of dollars sitting in escrow that you're going to lose if you're not ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
So I figured it out. I got the money, brought on an EP who put up the money, and the money went into escrow, and we set the date. And within 30 days, we were shooting.
Wow.
That's how we got Lance.
Yeah.
And I still say, because once I imagine Lance in that role, I'm like, that's it. we can't get him, I'm not doing the movie. I actually said that to my
Wow.
team, and I meant it.
So when he
Um,
showed up, did you have to tell him what to do, or or he already mapped out? How does that
well,
go?
yeah, I mean, you have to understand, I'm a first time director. I've never
Yeah,
worked with name talent before. I've never
yeah,
even really directed before.
yeah.
And we go into rehearsal, and I'm like, no, I kind of saw this another way than what's happening. But I'm like, am I really going to have to say something to Lance Henriksen? Like, am I really going to have to do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I guess I got to do that. So I'm like, I had to muster up the courage, and I had to do it. And he was awesome, and he totally understood. And once we had that conversation, he realized he could trust me, and that I knew what I was doing, and I wasn't just, because they get asked by a lot of people, to work with that maybe don't have clear visions and don't really
Mm,
know what they want and all that kind of stuff.
right.
But once we formed that bond and that shorthand and that rapport, it was just brilliant from that point on. And he actually even came up with a couple ad lib lines in the movie that are some of my favorite lines that he
Oh,
just came up with on the spot,
oh,
because we were so in sync by that point, and we were so on the same page. And
yeah,
and I say it all the time: Fragile Storm wouldn't be what it is without Lance Henriksen. He
yeah,
made that movie.
yeah. That's so powerful. So we're talking about Fragile Storm. And can you give away a little log line to our audience? I like to say hi to people who are watching us. Hi, Louis. Hi, how are you? Hi, Ted. Oh, Ted has a question for you. Can you see it?
I cannot. I don't.
Oh,
Like I
okay.
said, I
Okay.
don't have. I
I'll read it to you. I think you pretty much answered the question. Ted said,
Oh yeah, let me go. I just found comments. Yeah, yeah. Hang on. I see
okay.
it. I see it. Intimacy coordinator. I must have missed that role play during the. Okay. All right. Okay. Do you want to read the questions so
No,
everybody can
no.
hear it? Or
Ted, the second question, he said, how pivotal is casting? Does the production only stop once they hire the turkey player, or does pro wing is on a prayer? I have no idea, Ted. Okay, do you know what he's
um,
talking about?
I would say that yes. Oftentimes, if you can get one name actor on, that will attract a lot of other name actors. It's like the first money's the hardest to get. Sometimes the first uh, big or notable cast member is hard to get. But after that, once it gives your product legitimacy, right? So not only can money come from getting a name actor attached, but other name actors start taking you more seriously as well. But even outside of the realm of name actors, if you're just talking cast in general, even when you're working at the independent level with lesser known cast members, I would say cast is always critical for me. Number one priority always. And we got really lucky with the whole cast on Fragile Storm. The other
Mm,
two actors in the film are brilliant as well.
mm,
So it's
yeah,
the cast. I will amend to say the cast really
yeah,
made this movie because,
yeah.
and the thing is, and both the other actors told me that Lance made them better.
I see.
Lance
I
working with
see.
him
Yeah,
elevated them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Great. I wanted to continue. Thank some people here on Sharkfin. Mark, my friend, is here. He always supports my channel and always being a great audience and ask great questions. And Melanie is here. Hi, Melanie. Melanie is my colleague when I taught in college. I taught in St. Joseph's College for 15 years.
Hi,
Melanie,
Melanie.
yeah, Melanie was always helping me too. She's so sweet. She works in the registrar office and she kicks ass. Anyway, Louis is here. Ted is here. Thank you guys. And yeah, and let's see who else is here. Yeah, thank
Ted
you.
says I'm giving him Julianne Moore vibes, which is awesome because I used to be, before I let my gray grow out, I was a
Uh,
redhead. It's all
oh,
natural gray now, but I used to be a redhead, so that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I'll take that as
And
a compliment.
and I think Sharkfin has a comment or question. Dawn has some impressive credits, and her look and personality reminds me of Juliana Moore.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
I appreciate
anyway,
that.
I was going to ask you to say the log line of the Fragile Storm?
You know, marketing and promoting Fragile Storm has always been a challenge because there's a big twist, as you know, if you've
Yeah.
seen the film.
Yeah.
The movie starts out very dark and ominous and scary.
Yeah.
And since you say there's no restrictions on StreamYard, I'm just going to say it starts out feeling a little bit like a torture porn.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
right? But it's
Yeah.
not.
I had no
It's
idea. I had no idea. It was kind of almost violent, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but that's what makes it so impactful when you find out the truth of what's really going on, right? It's
Yeah.
because you're like there's that moment where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
wow. And then you race back through the whole movie and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
Because they both are victims.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's a
Yeah.
horror story for both of them in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
The way I have to pitch it, the way I came to a log line to be able to pitch it was a frightened young woman tries to escape the clutches of a terrifying older man, only to find out the shocking truth about who she is and why she's really there. That's the closest I could come to telling the story without telling the story.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah.
very smart. Very smart. So yeah. So tell us so people can see that the whole anthology in on Tubi, on Amazon, on many forums. Now could you, we've been talking about a lot about the Fragile Storm. Can you touch a little bit about the other filmmakers and their films in this whole anthology? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually did not know there's such thing called anthology, like showing different films in one group, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, anthologies have actually been around for a while. I would say that the horror market is the most popular anthology. There's a whole bunch of horror anthologies out there. But what kind of inspired me was several years ago when the Coen brothers came out with the Buster Scruggs anthology on Netflix. Now, that was a little bit different because they were the directors and I think the writers on all 5 pieces that were in that collection. But that was an anthology of 5 different stories that I think had Westerns or something as the kind of theme that pulled them all together. That's what inspired me. And so I thought, well, what theme can I establish around Fragile Storm that could work as an anthology? And I belonged to an all-female group of filmmakers at that time. So I reached out to them and I thought, well, I guess mental health would be mental health and what's the word? Undying love, mental health, commitment. All of those are things that I felt I could maybe draw a theme around. And I was just shocked at how many films I got sent that were made by women about women leaning into mental health. Women filmmakers seem to have that as a very popular topic of their films that shows up a lot in their stories. And that's when I'm like, that's it. That's the niche. That's the collection. It's films by women, about women, with mental health as the, not mental illness necessarily, but mental health as the subject matter that streams it all together. So I chose all the films because they were compassionate. It was very important to me that all the filmmakers treated the mental health subject matter with compassion. And there's 9. We got 9 of them, 9 stories in this collection, including mine, Fragile Storm. And so I chose some films that had some levity, a little bit of humor, some that are more serious like Fragile Storm, some that maybe have a little tiny bit of a fantasy element to them, because I didn't want to have it be like an hour and a half or 80 minutes or whatever of really dark, heavy stuff that would be exhausting. So I feel like it's a really balanced collection of films. There's a lot of diversity among the filmmakers. The filmmaking styles are all varied and unique and different. And I just think there's nothing else out there like it. There's no other collection out there like this. And I think you have up on the screen right now where it's on Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, Apple iTunes. You can also own it right from our website on digital download and DVD. That helps us out if you buy directly from us on the website. That's better for us. And the filmmakers all share in the revenue.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, let's see, from making the film to working, a pro-production. I understand you also edited the whole thing yourself. You are really like hands-on of everything. What kind of software do you use for editing?
I've had to teach myself how to do just about every aspect of filming. I think a lot of people can relate to that in independent film. If you can't hire somebody else to do it, you have to figure out how to do it. I used to edit for the longest time. I held on way too long to Final Cut Pro. I had Final Cut Studio forever, and several of my friends were giving me shit about it daily. I just old dog new tricks. Like I'm like, oh, I just can't learn another software program right now.
Yeah.
But Apple stopped supporting Final Cut 7.
Final Cut 7.
And
Yeah.
and they moved to Final Cut 10. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to learn a whole new program anyway, I might as well move over to Premiere, which is where everybody was trying to convince me to go. So I would say probably for the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, I've been exclusively on Premiere.
Oh, right.
Which I really like. You can, it's like $30 a month, which is kind of a scam. You used to be able to buy it. Yeah, it was $700. You owned it.
I know.
Now you have to rent it for the rest of your life at $30 a month.
Yeah.
And if you need Photoshop with it, that's another $10 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, don't get me started on that. But, but Ching, I do want to tell you, because I'm also trying to launch a YouTube channel, and much like you, I'm really getting into the whole YouTube world right now and all the tools that creators are using. There's a new platform, a new software. It's not a platform; it's more of a software, a web-based program. Although I think you can download it on your computer too, called Clipchamp. Are you familiar with Clipchamp?
No.
It's free. It's done by Microsoft, and it's amazing because it kind of acts like it kind of has the user interface of Final Cut 10. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot more user friendly. But one of the cool things I've started using it for, which is so cool, you can type in your text and you can pull it in and have it animated or turned into an AI voiceover.
Wow. Called Clip what? Say it again.
Clip, CLIP, Clipchamp, CHAMP, Clipchamp.
Oh,
and it's free.
One word. Okay.
I think there's a premium version of it if you need more features, but the basic version of it is free. There's a stock library in there. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you can transfer text to VO. Mm-hmm. Wow. And it's pretty decent sounding VO too. Sometimes you have to go in and like spell out things phonetically so it'll pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
But they have a range of male and female voices.
Oh.
And yeah, it's awesome. Your audience should definitely check it out.
Okay, that sounds good. So, yeah, and I I have been using. I'm so old. I've been using Final Cut for a long time, since 2008. At the beginning, it was Final Cut Express. Remember? So it's like $2,000. Do you remember?
I do. I paid that back in the day. I owned it. I owned the whole studio. Because I used to use Compressor to compress my videos and DVD Studio Pro to burn my own DVDs. Yeah. Now here's what's funny. I shot a labor of love documentary back in the 2009, something like that, on a little tiny mini DV camera. I think it's like a little tiny mini DV camera. Yeah. And I put it on the shelf for a long time, and now I want to finish it.
Yeah.
So but all that DV footage is interlaced. Whoa. Now there's another program. It's about $200, 160 if you use the Honey app for a discount, called Topaz.
Okay.
And Topaz is incredible because it'll take older footage, it brings it into an AI environment, and it up-reses it to 1920 by 1080, takes out the interlacing, fixes it, makes it look all nice. And I had to do that with like 30 hours worth of footage. It took like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to process.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I also burn my own DVDs for Edge of Her Mind, and now I'll do it for this new documentary when it's ready. There's no professional software at a decent price point that I know of out there anymore to burn your DVDs. So I sold all my old stuff a long time ago. I had to go buy an older Mac. This was just a month ago. I had to go buy an older Mac and rebuy Final Cut Studio Pro to be able to go back and edit some of my older stuff and author my own DVDs and DVD
Wow.
studio.
Can you just
So I own all that stuff again now.
digitize? Can you digitize your mini DV tapes?
I had to get Final Cut. Well, no, I thought I needed Final Cut to do that, but I found a way to do it through Premiere. But I had to buy the older Mac to do it.
Wow.
My newer Mac won't run the older version of Adobe Premiere that I needed to read my camera.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Well, that's a good lesson.
But you know
I have kept all my old Mac. I should not throw them away.
keep it and keep that software, because the computer was about $115 shipped.
Yeah.
And I got the discs, all the install discs and everything version of Final Cut Studio Pro for about another $100. So for less than $250, I was able to now digitize all my footage, and now I can author DVDs again.
Wow. Wow.
It was worth it. It was worth the investment.
Awesome. You're so techie. Do you know how to do
Hey, you got to teach yourself this stuff.
Do you know how to do a DCP?
I have not mastered the DCP yet, but honestly, these days there's a YouTube video for everything.
It's not. Yeah, I learned. I made my first DCP, and then my film shown in New York City in the cinema. It looked really, 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 really good.
Now, when you make your own DCPs, if you send it out to multiple theaters and multiple festivals, do you worry that it's not going to be compatible? I've heard that's an issue.
No, DCP is just that once you make, I know, and I understand you need to export the highest possibility, which I made a DCP on Apple ProRes, which is my 90-minute film is about 155 gigabyte. And on that, I made a DCP, which is better than someone else made it for me based on a 9 gigabyte file. So I can see the differences. So once you made it, I think all theater, they all have a DCP player. So it's probably not any difference. Yeah. But anyway,
I might turn to you for some help on that. Like I haven't done film festivals in a long time because of the pandemic and all that. But that's a good skill to have.
I just learned by watching tons of YouTube channel and YouTube, and I learned. But the thing is, Dawn, once I made it, right, I have no way of knowing if this is a good DCP unless I go to the theater. So I went to the theater and I was like begging them, can you please let me see my DCP, you know? And
I've had to do that too.
Yeah. And they were so nice. They played. They said, okay, come back this day, this hour, just watch the whole thing by yourself.
Yeah, that's cute. That's QCing a DCP, and you have to go to certain places to do it. You can't just do it yourself.
Yeah, you can't. You don't know if it works. Yeah, but anyway, so sounds interesting. Well, I really admire you. Very hands-on, and you know what is the word? DIY. Right?
DIY. Everything is everything I do is DIY. I've had to learn everything.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And now could you quickly mention the other is it an 8 film in your cycle? Just roughly what are they about? You know,
the other films?
Yeah, I thought
let me kind of go through them in my head in order. The first one is about grief. It's a really beautiful film about grief and forgiveness. The second one's kind of a comedy about women taking charge of their body image and not, kind of bucking the conventional norms of what their bodies are supposed to look like and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of a parody, which is kind of fun. Then there's Fragile Storm. Then the fourth one is this really cool film about, for lack of a better word, how we sometimes think that life is greener, on the other side of the pasture, on the other side of the fence. So that was a very cool film, very, very cleverly made. Then there's one about being a marginalized woman in a patriarchal society. There's the one that speaks to that. Then there's a beautiful film about a 10-year-old girl who's going through some stuff and all the things that are running through her mind, that she's trying to comfort herself through a very hard time. Don't want to give too much. That's a beautiful film that I love. And then there's one about suspicion, how sometimes our suspicious minds, like being suspicious of a loved one or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, can really mess with your mind and really kind of take over and make you do some nutty things. And then the final one speaks to transgender youth. It's a beautiful film about a young boy struggling with his identity and potentially wanting to be another gender, be transition into So it covers a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's great. So would you say this whole thing, well, you're taking other people's film, making a anthology. Does it cost you a lot of money? Do you have to pay them, or do they expect in getting paid when you start the distribution?
Yeah, no, we could have just done a buyout and given money up front and kind of owned the films, but because we had never done this before and we didn't know how well it was going to be received, there was no money up front for the filmmakers. We footed all the expenses as far as the editing, pulling everything together, getting it delivered, marketing, promotion, advertising, everything that went along with it. And then they share in the revenues. Any revenue or sales or anything like that comes in.
So you do everything yourself, including going sort of almost like a self-distribution with the Film Hub. And have you ever thought about having someone else take your film, like distributors?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first jobs I had when I moved from Atlanta to LA in 2000 was for a distribution company. And it didn't take me long to figure out kind of how that works and how it works at a lot of levels. I always say there's 3 levels of distribution. There's the big studio films up here. Then there's the mid-level films that may have some big names in them, but they're not quite, big studio blockbusters. And then there's this kind of lower level, and I don't mean that disparagingly. I'm just saying this third level that deals in horror films and genre films and no-name dramas and kind of everything else other than those first top 2 tiers. And a lot of times that model is based on those distributors will try to get you to agree in as many expenses as possible that they can deduct from the sales. And that's really where they make their money. Like let's say a company wants The Edge of Her Mind. They will tell me they'll take 25 or 35% distribution fee off the top, somewhere in there. But then they also need to immediately recoup their expenses. And they'll try to charge expenses anywhere from, I've seen anywhere on the very lower end of like $5,000 all the way up to like $50,000. And these days, they're really just putting it on streamers. Some of them may put some marketing and promotion into it, but not often. And so those are the deals that someone like me can't even consider, because if I'm allowing them to deduct $25,000, $35,000 in expenses, and my film can only make so much money in general, that's never going to trickle back down to me. So that's why we went with Film Hub, because Film Hub just takes 20% flat fee of anything that sells through their platform, and they're not exclusive. So whatever platforms they get you on, great, but you can also go get yourself on other platforms. You can offer DVDs and digital downloads. You can go to the educational market. You can go work a deal with Hulu if you want to. They don't, it's very, very non-exclusive, which is great. There's another company called Indie Rights that does something similar. They take 20% flat, no expenses, no fees up front, just flat 20% of whatever sales they make. The difference there is they have a 3-year exclusive contract. So I considered both, and there's things to like about both. But at the end of the day, what really tipped the scale for me was the non-exclusivity, because I know things are changing so rapidly in the industry. I didn't want to be locked in. I knew there was going to be new technologies, new opportunities coming down the pike any day. And one of those big things that's coming down the pike is YouTube. There's a thing called multi-channel networks, MCNs, that are now buying up huge libraries of films and putting them on their YouTube channels in various niches. They'll have multiple channels, all with different niches, and they'll just start flooding those channels with free movies. and people are loving it because they can fast forward through the 5 seconds into the commercial, they can skip out of it, they can put it on 1.5 times speed, and it's all free. So we're seeing a whole movement towards YouTube now being kind of a new distribution model for films.
Mm.
That's,
Yeah,
I've been able to do that with, well, Indie Rights does do that. They license out to multi-channel networks, but I wouldn't have been able to put it on my own channel or channels that I want to work with.
yeah.
So it was really, that's all. It came down to mostly the exclusivity.
That's great to know. Yeah, I did a little bit research and talking to different. I made a film, a 90-minute documentary, and then after was showing in the film festival, film distributors or consultants started contact me, and finally last year there were 2 offers. From, but I look around just like you said, this and that. I was like, I'm not going with anyone. So right now, I'm waiting for Film Hub to get back to me. For some reason, I think I applied in June. I haven't heard
Oh,
from them.
wow.
Yeah.
You mean you haven't passed QC yet, or you haven't
I
submitted?
have no idea. I submitted, but there's nothing happened. I clicked that submit button, and I never remember getting any email from them. Maybe
You
something
should
is wrong.
definitely follow up on that, because they're pretty good about saying we've received your materials and we're
Oh,
putting it through the QC process. And then
okay.
within at least a week, they usually get
Oh,
back to you and tell you any issues they're having with the film.
oh,
So you definitely need to email them and stay on
okay.
top of that.
I was so overwhelmed by the deliverable, it
Yeah.
was so
And their
much.
deliverables are easy. There's some,
Oh,
like,
really?
oh yeah, if you get like on Hulu or any kind of like Direct TV, Showtime, HBO, like if you get on any of like the cable networks or anything like that, or
Yeah,
Netflix or any of those
yeah,
like
yeah,
bigger platforms,
yeah.
you got to deliver in different languages. You got to
Oh,
deliver.
oh gosh. Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
this Film Hub is easy compared
Oh,
to
okay.
all
Okay.
of that.
All right. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, that's a lot of things. But
Yeah.
anyway, I actually made a EPK, which is nice to
Mhm.
make anyway, right? It's a good thing to make one.
Yeah, I made one too. Those are good to have.
Yeah, yeah. And the tremendous amount of this kind of the marketing work, you do it by yourself. And I'm sure, do you like have people do these for you? And you like have gazillions of a social media thing going on.
I do
You're
everything. I did my own EPK. I do it. I do
That's
my own
great.
pitch decks. I do pitch
That's great.
decks.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you have like an English degree?
I do it all. Do it all.
Anyway, so it's 6 o'clock, and let's see. Oh, I have one question for you. Is like, how did you get on to Clubhouse that early? You're like a senior in Clubhouse,
The
right?
OG. Well, I'm not really
OG.
one of the OGs, because it actually started the March before. It started
Oh,
at the beginning of the pandemic.
oh,
But for
2020.
some reason,
Yeah.
the film industry community there blew up like late 2020, early 21.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's
Right.
not like it was then anymore,
Yeah.
because people have gotten
Yeah.
back to their lives or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was a time where the networking and the contacts and the people that you met on Clubhouse it's still great, but it
Yeah.
was incredible back then. There
Oh,
were
wow.
big agents, managers, studio executives.
Wow.
Tiffany Haddish was on there. Celebrities were coming on. It was
Oprah came.
Dane Cook. Oh, yeah, it was. And now
Yeah.
they've all left.
Elon Musk came.
Yeah, it was huge. It was the big thing for about a
Yeah.
year, and then
Yeah. I
now.
only got on March last year, but I met so
Mhm.
many wonderful people, including you.
Well,
It's
I
just
thought
amazing.
I only got on in February of that year.
Oh, okay.
Last
Okay.
year, not 2022,
Yeah.
2021. Yeah.
2021, I got on. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
me too.
it's really nice. And right now it's a little bit lonely.
Yeah, I miss all the rooms, the big
Yeah.
turnouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people here, Shark Fin Tech, I met on Clubhouse, and Lewis also has I think a TED also we met
Oh wow.
on Clubhouse. Yeah, Clubhouse people.
It's still
So
a
yeah,
great place to meet people. It's still
yeah,
great. I mean, we got 60 something people at my watch party last night. I was very impressed
yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, and Well, so I usually do a end of the session. I'll do a rapid fire, like a little game. Would you like me
Okay.
to do with you?
Okay. Let's go. Let's
Very
go.
silly. Okay. What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Um, what is your favorite food genre? Like Italian food, Mexican food.
French. French food.
Oh, French.
French. What
Oh,
did you think I
oh,
said? No,
French. I
French
I
food.
thought you said French.
French.
Okay. So, what kind of people you hire if you hire? Like three good qualities.
Dependability, professionalism, communication.
Mm. Um,
Communication is a big one. I will cut you loose if you do not communicate with me. Bye bye. You blow me up, you don't return an email, and you're working for me. Sayonara. Not doing it. I went to Cannes in 2019
yeah.
to pitch both the anthology and a script that I had, and I got 3 green light offers on the script, and one of them was this woman, the best pitch of my life. I sat down, had the best pitch meeting of my life with her. We
Yeah.
vibed, we loved each other. It was awesome. She greenlit it. She wanted to make it, and then communicating with her over the next
Yeah.
month, 2
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
was just a nightmare. And I turned
Yeah.
it down. I'm like,
Mm.
nope, can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big
Communication.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you,
Sorry,
do you,
rapid fire.
rapid fire? Do you do what do you call Airbnb?
Yes. Not only do I do Airbnb, when the pandemic hit and I left LA and came up here where I'm at now, I lived in an Airbnb for the first six months
Wow.
because he
Cool.
couldn't rent it out
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was illegal for a while. They shut down hotels and all that kind of stuff. So he
Yeah.
had an Airbnb just sitting there,
Yeah.
and I was there for like 9 months, I think, 7 months actually.
Wow.
So
Do
yeah,
you
love Airbnbs.
yeah, me too. The reason I ask is that when you say communication, do you remember three things they ask you people to be good at that? Do you remember? What are the three things? Do you remember?
Cleanliness, I would think.
Yes, that's number one.
They want you to clean up after yourself and have loud parties.
No, no, that's okay. Nobody have parties. What else? Number
Yeah.
two? Do you know?
Gosh, I don't remember.
Communication.
Oh, I thought you already said that. Yeah. Communication do not underestimate communication and the importance of a return phone call and a return email.
Yeah, definitely.
I know you got frustrated with me at first. You're like, if you're too busy, I'm like, no. I'm sorry. I'm usually better at that
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what's important because
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
sign of respect and
Yeah, I think so. Reliability. Yeah, that's a good big one. All right. You travel any country you want to go travel for leisure next?
It used to be Greece, but now I think it might be Italy.
Oh yeah.
Never been to Italy, and I would really like to. Yeah,
Oh,
Greece
Italy
and
is
Italy.
beautiful.
Or, if I had to choose one, Italy.
Italy is beautiful. Yeah. Music. What genre of music do you like to listen when you're driving long distance?
Mostly instrumental. There's a Pandora station that I always listen to called Global Chill. But I also love Spanish guitar, so I'm gonna have to bump Spanish guitar up there.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
guitar too. If you have an opportunity to have dinner with two person, dead or alive, which two people you want to pick?
I would love to reconnect with George Lucas. Like I said, we worked together on Young Indiana Jones and haven't really stayed in touch since that. And I would like to know him even more and really just sit down and talk with him. So George Lucas and Mariska Hargitay.
Who is that?
She's the Law and Order SVU.
Oh,
Olivia Benson. Olivia Benson is my spirit animal.
Oh, I see. I see. Other than your own film, do you have a favorite TV show?
TV show, like an ongoing series?
Yeah, series. Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna have to stay old school and say Frasier. I still watch reruns of Frasier. That show was so intelligent and so clever and so funny, and I still watch it to this day. And Will and Grace. Will and Grace also.
Yeah. That's interesting because I don't even remember what Frasier is like. I don't remember.
I'm
Uh, yeah.
I'm dating myself. Giving away my age.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you a question, and I forgot what was that sentence. I'll just make it up. Now, any book you read you wanted to let us know we should read? It's very good.
I'm such a visual person. I don't read a whole lot. When I do read a book, it tends to either be a self-help book with some kind of issue I'm experiencing at the time, or a book on filmmaking. So
Mm, okay. Yeah.
that's it.
Two.
Other than that, I get my stories through television.
Yeah. I know. Tool book. Yeah. I don't sit there and read much myself either. Yeah.
I
So
don't anymore.
yeah, if you won 25 million dollar lottery, what would you do with it?
25 million?
Whatever.
25 million.
More or less.
I have a slate of about 5 films that we're trying to get made and have been trying to get made. I would make every single one of those films.
Mm, wow. Bravo.
That's what I
Bravo.
would do. After
Bravo.
paying off all my debt. I'd pay off all my debt, and then I would make my
Yeah.
films.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
No
That's
doubt.
wonderful.
No doubt.
Yeah. All right. So all right. Two more questions. It's happy hour in New York time right now. When I take you out, what would you order?
I would get a cranberry with soda and a squeeze of lime.
Wow,
Not do it. Not getting too old to keep doing the
that's
alcohol.
so organic. Organic.
Yeah, I know. I'm the life of the party with my cranberry juice. Yeah, no, you get to an age where you're like, yeah, the alcohol just not what it doesn't treat the body the way it used to. So
Uh-huh. Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right.
cranberry juice.
Yeah. Last question. Coffee or tea? Coffee or tea?
I never used to drink coffee, and then a year or so ago, I got obsessed with coffee, and then it gave me the jitters, and it made me not sleep at night, and it was just causing me to be irritable and all that kind of stuff. So I am now off coffee. This was
Oh,
my tea. I was drinking
oh,
tea earlier.
uh-huh.
So it's 100% Earl Grey tea is my
Wow.
go-to.
I love Earl Grey. Yeah.
That's my
And
go-to.
I last year this time I learned how to drink Turkish coffee. So I love Turkish coffee. And it's
I
not
can't do
strong.
coffee. I,
Actually, Turkish coffee is not strong.
it
You can I
sounds
can
like it would be strong.
but it tastes strong, right? But I can drink it 10 p.m. It
Oh,
does not affect me. Isn't that weird? It's very
I'm
weird.
too sensitive to caffeine. I can't do it anymore.
Oh
Even
yeah, but
even
anyway.
too much tea gets me like I have to
Oh
be
yeah.
careful how much tea I.
Tea will make you wake up. Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
So we're like, let's do a clubhouse way of ending. So last words, Down Fields.
Final words, last words.
I know what.
Final word. Um, I just want to go back to something I said earlier because this is becoming something that I've just been learning over and over and over lately. Just because something doesn't work out the way you planned, or you miss a goal, or you don't have something ready when you wanted to or thought you needed to, just know that it's not the end of the world. Don't give up. Keep going. Never give up. Never surrender. I always say, and just know that it everything happens for a reason, and it may be just not the time, and things will work out better down the line. Those would be my final thoughts.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And my final line is if you can watch my videos on YouTube channel and then subscribe them. If you don't watch it and then your subscribing is not is not doing enough. So you guys should watch my videos. And also I always believe one thing leads to another. So do that one thing and something else will follow. So let's all do that one thing, right?
Get up and do it. Take that
Yeah,
step.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
my final call to action would be: please go watch the Edge of Her Mind anthology. Find it on Amazon, Apple, whatever. Go to our website. It tells you everywhere it's streaming and available. And if you like it, please leave a review on Amazon or IMDb, and please
Reviews
share it
good.
and tell your friends.
Yeah, reviews good. Good. All right. So thank you so much. And here is Dawn's Instagram info, and then she also have a TikTok and YouTube, and then every all the information is down below, in including her bio. It's in the description below. And I will see you next Wednesday with interviewing a composer friend, New York City, actually New York, upstate New York. Composer friend. Okay, great. Thank
Awesome.
you so much. And
Thanks,
thank you
Jane. This was
guys.
great.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching us. And do one thing and do the right thing. Thank you. All right,
Do
great.
one thing and do it well.
Yes, do one thing well. Yeah.
All right, my dear. I will see you on Clubhouse.
Yes, yes. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Bye.